100,000 years ago, you were the weakest animal alive. So why is everything that could kill you extinct? It's a cold morning, about 100,000 years ago. The sun is barely up, and out on the open grassland, there's a creature standing completely still, staring at a lion in the distance. No claws, no fangs, no thick hide. It can't outrun the lion, it can't outmuscle it. If that lion decides to charge right now, this creature has almost nothing to fight back with. That creature is you. Well, your great-great-great-great-grandparent, give or take a few thousand greats. Here's the wild part. By every measurement that mattered on that grassland, early humans were one of the weakest animals alive. Slow, soft, nearly defenseless. A toddler gazelle could outrun us. A leopard could end the whole conversation in about 3 seconds. Honestly, on the open plains, we were less of a predator and more of a walking lunchbox. And yet, fast forward to today, and we're the ones running the planet. The lions live in our parks. We put the mammoths in museums. So are the giant sloths, the cave bears, the saber-toothed cats. Most of the terrifying megafauna that once made us look like a snack. Gone. All of them. So how did the weakest animal in the room end up outlasting almost everything else? How does the lunchbox somehow win the whole game? It's one of the strangest, most satisfying twists in the entire story of life on Earth. Let's find out. Let's be honest about just how badly we were built for survival. Take raw speed. A human sprinting flat out tops around 20 miles per hour for a few seconds before collapsing into a wheezing mess. A lion hits 50. A gazelle a little less, but they can hold it. In a straight race, we lose, every single time. Now look at our weapons. A chimp, our close cousin, is several times stronger than a grown adult human, pound for pound. Bears have claws like steak knives. Big cats have fangs evolution practically designed for cracking skulls. And us? We've got flat little fingernails and teeth that struggle with a tough piece of jerky. Our babies are almost a joke, survival-wise. A baby wildebeest can stand and run within minutes of being born. A human baby can't hold up its own head for months, can't walk for a year, can't survive alone for, about a decade and a half. Most animals are practically born ready for the world. Ours arrive as tiny, screaming, completely dependent little potatoes. We are born ridiculously, hilariously helpless. And our skin? No fur to speak of, no armor. We get cold easily, we sunburn, we bleed from the smallest scratch. We are, frankly, a poorly armored unit. If you designed us in a lab as a pure survival animal, you probably get fired. Compare that to almost anything else out there. The deer gets speed, the turtle gets a shell, the porcupine gets 1,000 tiny spears built right in, the skunk gets chemical warfare, and the human gets a slightly bigger forehead. On paper, that does not sound like a winning trade. So picture the character sheet if early humans were a video game character. Strength, low. Speed, low. Natural weapons, none. Defense, paper. By the numbers, we should have been level 1 forever, the very first thing eliminated on the map. Easy XP for everything else. But the game had a few hidden stats nobody saw coming. And those grasslands were not a friendly place to be level 1. For most of human history, we were not at the top of the food chain. We were somewhere in the middle, the awkward spot where you eat some things and plenty of other things happily eat you. The Pleistocene world was packed with absolute units. Cave lions bigger than the lions you'd see on a safari today. Hyenas the size of a small bear, with a bite that could crush bone like a cracker. saber-toothed cats with fangs longer than your whole hand. There were even giant eagles, in some places, strong enough to snatch a small human child clean off the ground. Imagine living in a world where the sky itself could be hunting you. And it wasn't just the predators. The whole world was scaled up. Mammoths the size of a bus. Woolly rhinos with a serious attitude problem. Giant ground sloths that stood taller than a basketball hoop. Picture being the slow, soft, furless little thing sharing a single muddy watering hole with all of that. No fangs to bear, no speed to escape, just you, your group, and the constant low hum of being absolutely surrounded. Every drink of water was a genuine gamble with your life. The numbers from that era are genuinely sobering. Studies of early human remains suggest a huge share of individuals died young, many before they ever reached 30. Tooth marks from big predators show up on fossil skulls. We weren't just competing with these animals. For a long stretch, we were on the menu. And it gets wilder. At one point, genetic evidence suggests our entire ancestry may have squeezed through a terrifyingly narrow bottleneck. The whole human story shrinking down to a small, scattered population, almost flickering out completely. For a moment, the future of our entire species was hanging by a thread. Here's the twist that should have sealed our fate. We're slow, we're loud, we can't climb as well as a monkey or swim as well as a seal. We don't blend in. On paper, early humans were just about the easiest large mammal on the planet to catch. So by every rule of nature, we should be a fossil. A weird little failed experiment, a footnote in the rock. Instead, we rewrote the rules entirely. We took every disadvantage and quietly turned it into the foundation of the most successful species the planet has ever seen. So how exactly does a creature this weak pull that off? Here's where it gets amazing. Because the things that made us weak as individuals turned out to be exactly the things that made us unstoppable as a species. The bug was the feature all along. Let me show you the hidden powers. Power 1. The brain. While we were busy losing the arms race for claws and muscle, evolution quietly made a different bet and poured almost everything into one single organ instead. A human brain is a problem-solving machine that doesn't just react, it plans. It remembers last winter and prepares for the next one. It predicts where the herd will be tomorrow and gets there first. No claws? Fine, we'll invent a spear. No fur? We'll skin an animal and wear its coat. The brain was our cheat code, and nothing else on Earth had one quite like it. Power 2. The long-distance engine. Remember how we lose every short race? Flip the timescale. Over distance, almost nothing beats a human. We sweat, buckets of it, which lets us shed heat and just keep going while everything else cooks in its own fur. Animals overheat and have to stop. We don't. There's a hunting strategy called persistence hunting, where humans simply walk after an animal for hours, never sprinting, never quitting, until the poor, exhausted creature can't take another step and collapses. We didn't win the race. We won the marathon. Every time. Power 3. Fire. This one changed everything. Fire kept the predators back at night, exactly when we were at our most helpless. It turned cold, dark, dangerous caves into warm, glowing shelters. And here's the sneaky genius part. Cooking. Cooked food unlocks way more energy for way less chewing, which meant our bodies could spend less on giant digesting guts and pour that energy into one hungry, expensive, world-conquering organ instead, the brain. Fire was the upgrade that quietly powered all the other upgrades. Power 4. And this is the big one. The tribe. One human alone on that grassland? Snack. But 50 humans, working together, sharing food, watching each other's backs, passing down knowledge, coordinating with language? That's not a snack anymore. That's the single most dangerous thing on the entire landscape. We turned weak alone into terrifying together. A lion hunts in a pride of maybe a dozen. We showed up with numbers, with plans, and with sharp sticks. And suddenly, the predator started avoiding us. Power 5. Teaching. This is the quiet superpower. When one human figured out how to make fire or where to find water in a drought, that knowledge didn't die with them. They taught it to their kids, their tribe, the next generation, and the one after that. Every new human got to start the game with all the upgrades the previous players had already unlocked. Fire, tools, maps, recipes, warnings. Other animals are born back at level 1, every single time, forced to figure it all out from scratch. We weren't. We just kept stacking the wins, generation after generation, until the gap became impossible to close. Put it together: a planning brain, an engine that never quits, fire to power it all, a tribe that fights as one, and knowledge that never dies. And that pathetic level 1 character suddenly had the most overpowered build on the entire map. Not the strongest single stat anywhere, just the best combo nobody else could copy. So here's the thing to sit with. We didn't survive despite being weak. In a strange and beautiful way, we survived because of it. If we'd been born with claws and fangs and armor, we might never have needed any of the rest. We'd have had no reason to invent the spear, gather around the fire, or trust the person standing next to us. Being weak forced us to get clever. It forced us to get together. The fragility wasn't a flaw in the design. The fragility was the whole point. And honestly, you're still carrying all of it. Every single piece. That urge to be part of a group. That comfort you feel around a warm fire and familiar faces. The instinct to teach someone what you know, to pass it on. The stubborn part of you that just keeps going when things get hard, long after a stronger creature would have quit. Those aren't random quirks. They're the exact same hidden stats that carried the weakest animal on the grassland all the way to the top of the world. You're running the same build they did. The fire is still warm. The upgrades are still installed. The tribe is still in your blood. The lions had the fangs. The bears had the strength. The saber-tooths had everything you'd think you'd ever need to win. And every single one of them is gone. But that soft, slow, furless little creature, standing in the cold, staring down a lion with nothing but a clever brain and a tribe at its back, made it. Through the predators, through the bottleneck, through 100,000 years of cold mornings, all the way to you. Pretty amazing when you think about it, that the strongest thing ever to walk the earth turned out to be the one that was never strong at all. So the next time you feel small or soft, or like you're just not built for the fight in front of you, remember what that feeling is actually made of. Remember the creature in the cold, staring down the lion. That's not weakness. That's the winning formula. That's the exact thing that outlasted everything stronger than it. And it's still in you.